my name is Juliana. I am 16, about to be 17. Backstory is just before I turned 16, I came out to my mom that my stepdad had been sexually abusing me since I was 5. After that, all she did was separate us from each other for a few days. Then things went back to the way they were. He had stopped, but he still looked at me in a way that no grown-ass man should be looking at a child. I was very uncomfortable, but my mom didn't seem to care. Anyways, so my escape from all this was to stay at my best friend's, but for a short period of time. She moved away, so I was stuck around him all the time. One night I wrote a letter to my mom describing the major things that he had done to me and why I wanted to move out. She read it and started saying how if she would have known about this, he wouldn't still be here, which I wanted to believe. She found a place for him to stay, and he is there for now, but since then, I barely see my mom. Maybe a total of 30 minutes in the past 5 days, and she doesn't buy food anymore. I have to send my 6-year-old sister to my grandmother's to eat. And the one day she didn't have to work, she left after me and my sister got home. I asked if she could get us some food, and she replied with, "OMG, y'all are too much." The fuck? You are a mother! What is going on in my emails today, you guys? It's like she's forgotten or doesn't care to be a mother. I'm 100% sure when she's gone, she is gone to see him. She hasn't asked me how I felt or anything. She spends her time with him and not with us at this point. I want to move out, but I don't want to leave my younger sisters. I'm lost on what to do. I need help. Okay, when I get situations like this, it's hard for me to say what you should do, because this is not a matter that I can help you with. Your mom is definitely in the wrong. She's obviously, I'm like tripping now. She's obviously going to see this man. You've told her that he's been sexually abusing you since you were a child, and now he has children of his own with your mom. So it's just like, that's 11 years, and your mom is definitely taking his side over you, which is so disgusting, but it's more common than you would think. A lot of women do that. A lot of women rather have their man than deal with the fact that their man is molesting, raping, abusing their own flesh and blood, their own daughter, the woman's daughter. Sometimes even the man's own daughter, you know what I mean? And so in a situation like this, you definitely have to involve the authorities or somebody that can help deal with the situation. Thing about stuff like this is, if it's not fresh and there's no proof, we get treated like we could be lying. It gets brushed under the rug if you don't speak up about stuff like this immediately. And so it's hard to say what would happen if you were to come out to, or if you were to report the incidences to the police and you decide you want like a restraining order or something. I don't know how that would work, but when it comes to giving out advice for Botox, there's certain situations that you have to look at and be like, can Bo really help me with this? Or do I need to go to somebody that can actually help this situation? Like, I really can't do anything for you. I can give you advice as to what I would do in the situation. But when it's something this personal, I really feel like you have to talk to somebody like your grandma, somebody close to you, and let them know what's going on, and they'll know how to deal with it that way. If it's been occurring since you were 5 years old and you never spoke up about it until now, and he hasn't raped you recently, or he's never raped you and it's just been some sort of molesting thing, then I don't know what the procedure would be. I don't know how the cops or the authorities would deal with a situation like that. So I really think that you should talk to somebody like an aunt, your grandma, somebody else that can take the situation into their hands, and speak to your mom about it first of all and get her to wake the frig up, and also take it to the next step. You have to deal with the situation accordingly, because at the end of the day, now that your mom knows, in another situation, not very similar to this, but in a situation where there was a young girl that needed to take care, that was playing the mother role, and she was failing her classes and stuff, and she had a lot of siblings and nobody was helping pay the bills. In that situation, I advised her to get child protective services involved simply because it's too much. If you're only 17 years old, you're still a child, you're not considered an adult until 18, and you have little sisters living at this home with you, and this is the abuse that you've gone through, there's no telling that your little sisters are not experiencing that right now, and they should not be in that environment with a man that is doing that. And on top of that, your mom is not buying groceries, and not like, she's making a 6-year-old and a 17-year-old fend for themselves. That doesn't make any sense. You guys should not be going hungry at this age. Like, this is not the age that, you're not 18. You're not, even at 18, your parents should still be helping you out. Like, you know what I mean? As long as you're living under their roof. Your mom is dead in the wrong, and I don't know who you need to speak to. I don't know if you should call Child Protective Services, if you should talk to a social worker, girl. I don't know. But I think that you might need to go that route. I think you might need to talk to somebody that can get you the help that you guys need, because at this point it's a lot deeper than the situation with your stepfather, because now it's affecting your livelihood, and now it's affecting your relationship with your mother. Your mother is basically abandoning you guys for the same man that's basically her first child. So talk to a social worker, the authorities, your grandmother, the police. Talk to those kinds of people and try to figure this out, because honestly, this is just horrible. Like, it's bad. Everybody, please pray for this girl. So I'm 16 years old and I'm a sophomore in high school. Basically, my issue is that my life is becoming very stressful and my anxiety is through the roof these days. I feel like neither of my biological parents nor my stepdad are supportive of me in any way. I have a younger brother who could literally get away with murder, and I'd somehow be in trouble. I go to a school I absolutely hate, and my mom is making me do IB, so that basically means after I graduate, I will have a year of college credits. But it's a lot of freaking work. And at the rate I'm going right now, I won't be able to handle it. I can't talk to her about anything because she equates every emotion to having an attitude. Oh girl, I've been there. When I try to talk to her about anything, she's so quick to say, so what is the point of this conversation? Okay. I would get so mad. Or what was the end result? Clearly I'm talking to your stupid ass because I wanted to get it off my chest, or I need help. These days I have no idea what to do with my life because being at home has become just as dreadful as being at school. So my question is, what should I do to deal with the effery? How would you suggest talking to her about it, if at all? I wish these last 2 years would go by faster. Thank you so much and love your channel. Anytime somebody asks me about how to deal with their mother, I tell them the same damn thing. Write a letter, girl. Just write her a letter and be like, look, mom, I'm sick of this. Every single time I try to talk to you, you shut me out. You ask me the same redundant questions. What was the end result? Or, so what is the point of this conversation? And quite frankly, mom, I'm not coming to you because I want to annoy you, but I'm your daughter and I'm needing advice and you're not giving it to me. You're not supportive. My dad's not supportive. My stepdad's not supportive. Just literally say everything you said to me in this email. Tell her how you're feeling in a letter. Let her read it and let it soak in. There's something about reading something, it's just like, versus listening to somebody speak to you, that it just hits differently. And the reason it hits differently is because when you read something somebody has wrote to you, or just wrote period, even if you're reading a book, there's something about words that just strike you differently when you read them yourself. You know, they just hit you a lot differently. Your mom will really probably understand if you write her a letter and just tell her how you're feeling. She'll be able to soak it in on her own time and then come and talk to you when she's ready. Make sure you say that at the end of the email, at the end of the text, at the end of the letter. Just be like, mom, I just feel like you're not there for me and I really need you to be there for me. So please, once you read this and you feel as though you have something sensible to say to me, let's talk. That's it. She gonna say you wrote that shit with an attitude, but let her. Like, if she feels like you have an attitude, then you have an attitude. Like, that's just how moms are. Moms are annoying. Just write her a letter, tell her how you feel, Tell her what issues you are going through. Tell her you're stressed. Tell her you have anxiety. Tell her you don't like IB and you're suffering through school right now, and just let her know that you don't know how to deal with this. Like, and she's not being much help either. Just let her know and see how it goes. Hey Bo, I like to start by saying you're my favorite YouTuber and I've been subscribed to you for over a year now. Love your videos and keep up the good work. I'd like to remain anonymous because I know my friends watch your videos and I feel as if I can't talk to them about this topic because they'll never be able to relate. Let me start by saying my mom left my father when I was 3 years old, bringing my siblings and I along. Over the 20 years she's been with him, she's endured a lot of physical and mostly mental abuse from him. I remember sleeping in shelters and my family members' couches until my mom was able to afford a stable home for me and my brother and sister. Fast forward to me being 6 years old, my father's girlfriend had a baby and they were happy and in love. There were times I remember my dad showing up in front of my house, literally on his knees begging my mom for his family back. That summer, while I was away visiting family in Jamaica, I learned that my father was arrested. My father was incarcerated for 9 years of my life, and now that I'm older, I understand why. Long story short, he was arrested for pulling an unlicensed gun out on someone in his restaurant. They charged him 1 to 2 years. Keep in mind, during this time, his girlfriend stayed at the home my parents bought together and ran my father's business. And just a week before his release date, she somehow convinced her daughter to lie to the courts and tell them that my father raped her. Why? Now, I'm not one who will say a girl will sit and lie about something serious like this. Now, I know my father is terrible, but I truly don't see him being such a wicked person. He insisted on not pleading guilty, resulting in 7 to 8 more years in prison. And while he was in prison, his girlfriend continued to live in my parents' home, refinanced the house, took loans out in his name, sold his restaurant, and took all of the money. Years later, we found out she did a lot of credit card fraud in my dad's name, with the paperwork to prove, and much more. So how come she's not in jail, or are you getting there? As much as my dad hurt my mother during those 9 years of him being in prison, she consistently sent him care packages and put money on his books, even took us to visit him as much as she could, even though it was an 8 to 10 hour drive. That's a good mama, okay? And a good ex-wife to a trifling, okay? When he was finally given a release date, my dad was deported back to Jamaica. Now that you have this little background story, I can get more to the point. During this whole time in prison, whenever he spoke to me, it was always general conversations like, what are you doing? What you ate today? Or straight to tell mommy to send me money. He knew nothing about me, not even my favorite color. I had no relationship or knew nothing about him either. And this hurt me for a long while. I cried so many nights wishing I knew him more. Fast forward to the summer, he was deported and I went to Jamaica for 2 months, and he only came to visit me 3 times. And 2 out of the 3 times was only for an hour or so. But one specific time we went to Dunn's River Falls. LOL, pretty sure you know what that is. I do. The whole family went, including his new girlfriend and her 3 kids. Not to mention she claimed she knew me since I was little, but that's besides the point. I hate bitches like that. I noticed that the youngest child was about 8 or 9 years old, was calling him dad. Jeez, these Jamaican men, child. Needless to say, he looked just like my dad. Just to add to that, my father barely paid me and my sister any attention when climbing the fall. It was as if his girlfriend and her kids were his little family, and me and my sister just outcasts. He made us feel like a bother, like we didn't belong. I remember breaking down crying on our way home from the beach that day. Bo, when I say I was heartbroken, I can't tell you how hurt I was. I cried myself to sleep that night. See, this is why you got to let these go. Like, you just gotta cut them off. Like, it hurts, it is what it is, but you just gotta let them go, because honestly, there's no point in trying to force that relationship. Yes, you're supposed to have your dad, but don't try to force it. If your dad wants to be ancient, he will be dealt with. Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. Like, he will be dealt his fair share of cards, okay? His deck, his whole deck. But let me make sure there's no spiders lurking. Fast forward to returning back to New York, I found out through family that I now had a little sister by another woman I had never met. Oh my gosh. My little sister's mom is the same age as my dad's oldest child. This is now the third sibling he hasn't even had the heart to come to tell me about, and it breaks my heart because I have no relationship with them. I don't know if I talked about this in part 1 or part 2 of my story time about my dad, but even though my dad is not supported and none of that, even though we don't have a relationship, I never, ever, he never called me to say, hey, my wife's pregnant. He's never called me to say, hey, my wife's pregnant again. I do not know his other kids, but I feel like I don't know my dad either, and so I don't call his kids my brothers. He has 2 boys. I don't call them my brothers. I call them my daddy's children. Okay, my father's kids. That's all they are, and that's all they ever will be. So you're in the same boat, basically. You can't expect things from the people that have only let you down. Your father has only ever let you down. That's all you've known him to do. So you can't be expecting things from him. That's when you will feel that hurt, that disappointment. If you're constantly expecting things from this man that has he's never been the one to show you, you can expect things from him. You know what I mean? Even down to when you guys were talking on the phone while he was in prison or jail, whatever. Even when you guys were talking on the phone, ooh, excuse me. Even when you guys were talking on the phone, he was giving you regular conversation. He wasn't talking to you like Mendici's talking to his little boy now. He's talking to you like, what's up, what you eat today? Like, no, he wasn't talking to you like, I miss you, blah, blah, blah. When I get out, we're going to do this, that, and the third. He's just talking to you like, tell your mom to put money on my books. Sometimes it's hard to let go, but like, you have to just realize and accept the fact that he's not the person you need him or want him to be. And so once you do that, you will no longer expect things from him. Your expectations will go from here to non-existent. And once they're at non-existent, you'll be okay when he doesn't call you to tell you, oh yeah, I got another bitch pregnant. Oh yeah, you have a sister, you have a brother, you have another sister, you have another brother. You know what I mean? You cannot expect things from this man. Just don't do it. About you not having a relationship with them, with his other kids, don't worry about stuff like that, because honestly, you don't even have a relationship with your dad. So why do you need to have a relationship with the other children that belong to him? I don't have a relationship with my father, and so I don't find it necessary to have a relationship with his other kids. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, because it's just like, who are you? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Everybody's different. Everybody deals with this kind of stuff differently. But in my personal life, with that exact same situation, I don't feel that I need to have a relationship with those 2 kids. Like, to me, it's like I don't know him, so I don't know them. Like, they're just strangers to me. So, and I don't feel any type of way about that. Like, it is what it is. If they ever come across one of my videos and they learn that the daddy ain't shit, that's on them. Like, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it is what it is. I finally came to the realization that my dad doesn't care to try to fix what he's broken. Well, see, that's good that you came to that realization. But I'm now at a point where I hate him. Girl, you gotta let that go. I hate him so much. I wish death on him, and I know I shouldn't. Just for not being there for me, seeing my friends have the support from both parents, and me never getting that chance to experience that. And just seeing all the hurt and pain he's put my mom through continuously throughout my 20 years of life. My question to you, Bo, is how can I grow to stop hating him? This man has such a toll on my emotions, and it has affected my relationships. I feel as though he's one of the reasons why I've had so many failed relationships with men, because I was never taught what to look for. This has been going on now for 17 years of my life, and I still cry about it. I just want to stop hurting. I don't even think he knows how upset and hurt I am by him. There's much more to the story, but this is long enough. If you ever get to reading this, thanks so much. Your advice will be highly appreciated. Much love. Honestly, I'm just going to redirect you to my initial Deadbeat Dad story time, and the link to Pink Butterfly's video is in the description box of that video. You need to watch both of those videos. And when you watch Pink Butterfly's video, you will probably not hate your dad anymore. It'll give you a little bit of closure, just a little bit of closure that you need to get over it. When I talk about daddy issues, when I talk about my own personal situation with my father, I'm very cold. I come across cold, but a lot of people will comment and be like, I can still hear the hurt. Bitch, bye. Like, just stop. Like, obviously, I'm going to be hurt forever. It is a hole, it is a void. It can't be filled by anybody else, and it will never be filled. However, when it came to dating and what I realized I would allow in my relationships, when I realized that the person that I'm with or trying to be with is anything like my father, bitch, I'm running for the hills. I ain't got the time. Like, I do not have the time. So that's number one. My number one thing is, because they say you marry your zaddy, okay? My number one thing is to avoid anybody that is like him. Girl, I won't date Sagittarius. I won't date lazy. Like, I can't. Anybody that's remotely close, just like 0.00001% like my dad, I'm running for the hills. Like, you can't have any similarities to him. That's number one when it comes to dating. You didn't really ask about dating, but you're saying about your relationships that have failed because of this. You're allowing your relationship with your father to affect your dating life. You're 20 now. Now is the time to put on your big girl panties, accept the hurt, accept the anger, and then let it go. You cannot hold on to what your dad did, how your dad still is. You can't hold on to it. God will deal with your papa, okay? He will deal with your dad accordingly. He will deal with my dad accordingly. God will deal with everybody's dad accordingly. Pray about your situation. Build a bridge. Cross that shit. Get over it, girl. Like, there's no point in exhausting yourself and beating yourself up about what your father has and has not done for you, whether it be emotionally, financially, whatever the case may be. Your father has a stereotypical Jamaican man syndrome, girl. He has kids here, there, and everywhere with 10 different baby mamas. Like, I can't deal with your dad. I can't deal with him. I think what's important is that your dad will be dealt with. Like, you don't have to punish your dad for this. You don't need to wish death on him. You don't need to do any of that. Those things only hurt you, okay? And so when I used to feel that way and I used to want him dead and I would say it out loud, I would cry it on the mountaintops, child. I was saying, I wish he was dead. I want him to die. I want him to die so I collect my check. Like, that's how I used to feel. And I get that. Like, I get being that angry. I get being pissed to the point where you want somebody to die, and that's somebody being your father, because your father was supposed to love you. Your father was supposed to take care of you. Your father was supposed to be there for you, but he wasn't, and he's never going to be. So sometimes you just have to accept it. And then sometimes, like, when you're like 40, sometimes your dad might try to peek around the corner and be like, I'm sorry for all the things, because he know he close to death. You just let him. You just let him. You have to forgive him yourself for you. It's not about him anymore. It's about you. And if you don't forgive him, you will continue to have failed relationships. You will continue to dwell and be stuck in that negative space. Whenever you feel that way about your dad, you'll probably be down for the rest of the day. Like, it's just a gloomy ass day. And nobody wants that energy around them. You don't want to bring that negativity into your energy, into your life, into your atmosphere. Like, you don't want that. And so the best thing for you to do is just be like, God, please deal with this man, because I can't. And just pray on the situation and ask God to help you forgive your dad for whatever it is you need to forgive him for. Nobody is perfect. And because I understand that nobody's perfect, it's easy for me to be able to look past, not look past, but it's easier for me to just be like, whatever, and be done with my dad, because I know that nobody's perfect. And even though my situation with my dad is a little crazy, and like he's a pastor and stuff, and it should not be this way, I still look at it like he ain't perfect. And he could never be perfect. He's the furthest thing from perfect, but so am I. So it's just like, you know what? My dad is a sinner. I'm a sinner. It is what it is. We got something in common, okay? And so you just have to forgive the people that hurt you. It is what it is. People hurt me all the time, and I am constantly forgiving them when I shouldn't. I think that I'm a really forgiving person. However, I don't forget shit. And so when you cross me, you will pay the price. Yeah, when it comes to dealing with your father, understand that you don't have to. That is for you to decide. If you want to keep being upset and having an effed up aura, and then keep thinking about your dad and all that he's done to you and being angry, but where is that gonna get you? Just think like that. Like, you're not gonna get anywhere being pissed off about your dad being an ain't shit dad. Like, you know what I mean? You've seen what he's done to your mother. Don't fall into that same cycle. When it comes to dating somebody, if you see a sign that the person you're with is going to be abusive towards you, don't take it. Because luckily your mom was strong and she got out early, because at 3 years old, I would say that's pretty early. She didn't stay with him for years even 2 years is a lot, but like, she was able to get up and go and move on. Be that woman. Let your mom be that light for you. Let your mom be that example of how much of a woman you should be if you are in that type of situation, to get up and walk away. Because if he's being physically abusive, mentally abusive, emotionally, you don't deserve that. Nobody, no woman deserves that. And so I definitely commend your mom for leaving your dad. I think that when it comes to your personal relationship with him and how you feel about him, you have to let it go. Just let it go. Write it out and burn it. You know what I mean? Write out everything that you feel about your dad, and then go and burn the paper. And once you burn it, that's just like you letting it go. Hopefully once you see this, you will go refresh your memory with my good old-fashioned deadbeat dad story time. And of course, the Pink Butterflies video on daddy issues. Just listen to what she has to say, because before I watched her video, I felt as though I was good. Like, I thought I was a-okay with the situation, but then when I watched her video, I was like, now I'm good, man. Like, I was touched by an angel that day. Seriously, it's not even a game. Like, I'm so serious. So yeah, that is it, you guys. I feel bad for neglecting, but like, Botox can only be done in small doses. If you need help, botox@gmail.com. That's with 2 S's. And yeah, I love you all, and I will definitely see you in the next one.